What's up, strongest men, women, and children from blocks all around the world? I am my block's strongest man, and I have a very special guest for you today. World's Strongest Man 2021 competitor from South Africa, Chris van der Linde.
Ciao, homie.
Hi, Chris. How are you?
Hi, guys. Very well. Thanks yourself.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for joining us today. This is very exciting. I think we're going to learn quite a bit about your background in Strongman today.
Yeah, no, for sure. Definitely.
Yeah, so Chris, the way that I like to start off my interviews, and I think is the most important part of all, take a moment to brag about your accomplishments.
Yeah, well, I suppose that's a good way to start, eh? Right. Won Arnold's Amateur 2018. Got my pro card here in South Africa. 2019 won Africa's Strongest Man. 2020 came second at Africa's. Equaled the Africa deadlift record for 420 kg. Yeah, that's about it. That's where I am now. And then I got my invite to World's Strongest Man this year, which is amazing. Looking forward to that.
Absolutely. I think we all are. So first and foremost, so you said you won the Arnold's Amateurs, which is, I think, a path for a lot of folks. And I think the audience is really excited to see World's Strongest Man become more worldly and include Africa this year.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. So the other thing you mentioned that is interesting is the year that you got your pro card. And I've interviewed folks from Europe and Iceland and so forth. And I think they don't have a concept of a pro card as much as the U.S. does. So it's interesting to hear that Africa does. Talk about that a little bit and how that's structured and kind of what's considered pro in Africa.
All right. So how our stuff works here in South Africa or Africa, we've got 4 categories. So we start out at novice, amateur, and then you qualify for pro. So as soon as you win an amateur competition, you get your pro card. Then you compete with the big boys, with the pros. So that's about how it's structured. Now the Arnold's Africa, you enter as an amateur. It's an open competition. You can enter, and then the winner, first place in that amateur show, gets his pro card, and then you qualify for pro shows, etc., etc. So yeah, that's about it.
Interesting. So when you win the Arnold's Amateur in Africa, does that qualify you for the Arnold's in Ohio?
No. Then you qualify for the pro show in Africa, and if you won, I think top 3 or top 2 places, they qualify for Ohio. As far as I have.
Yeah, interesting. So as you mentioned, you had 2019 Africa's Strongest Man and 2020 second place. Let's just clarify, second place by half a point.
Half a point, yeah. I didn't know what the points were, but yeah, that's half a point.
Yeah. What were your experiences there? Which of those 2 years did you enjoy more? And like maybe let's talk about some of the events. There was a Conan's wheel in one of them. Just some really exciting stuff there.
Yeah, no, for sure. 2018, we had the Conan's wheel. That was amazing. First time doing the Conan's wheel. So that was quite a good experience. I'd say enjoyment out of the 2 competitions, I have to say 2020 was better for me. Pulled the 400 deadlift again. Actually, I just had a good year. The COVID year was actually very good to me. Started with a new coach, got my diet in line, and my strength just went through the roof. So I'd say 2020 was way better for me as an athlete, competing and mentally as well, because I could prepare better for 2020. Mostly mentally, I'd have to say. So yeah.
Yeah, let's have a look. So these are the finishes here. And so it's amazing. Second place while winning 3 events. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Yeah, no, it was quite a shock to me as well. But no, that you have to stay consistent.
Yeah. So we had an arm over arm truck pull, a max deadlift, as you mentioned. This medley here, is that like a stone carry medley, or what type of medley was that?
No, we had 2 bags, giant dumbbell, and yeah, I think that was about it. It was 3 or 4 implements. We had to carry them, pick them up, run to the platform, put them on the platform, go back, do the second one. So it was various objects to load.
Wow. So I don't think I've ever seen a loading medley with a giant dumbbell. That's very interesting. How was that to carry? Like, do you keep that between the legs? How do you carry that?
No, you actually just pick it up to your chest, pull it close to you, and just go with it. So what I did, I put my hands in the grip area, and I picked it up there and just pulled it towards my body and just kept it as close as possible, and then I just ran with it. It seems to me that the best way. So yeah.
I'm starting to think that's good practice for World's Strongest Man, because they had that weird monster truck implement carry last year. If they do something similar, maybe you're ready for that.
Yeah, no, for sure, definitely. I actually like the odd objects. It makes it a bit easier for me to carry because there's some place to hold on to it. Where if you get a bag, there's no place to hold on to the bag. So yeah.
Yeah, I think Colin Bryce likes the odd objects too, so you might have a match made in heaven there.
We'll see. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So there were some other events there too. Even max axle press, you did a 165 kg there, which is amazing. Like, I'm trying to do the math in my head, so that would be 360 some odd pounds, I think.
Yeah, should be around there. I've got no idea. 165 pounds. Yeah, it should be 3 something. I've got no idea.
Yeah. So in terms of overhead pressing, what's your favorite implement? There's axle, there's the really strange ones like the Mauser block and things like that. What's your favorite overhead pressing?
No, I'd say definitely the log. I like log pressing. I feel comfortable. I actually just came out of training now. So yeah, doing log presses. So
Great.
yeah, no, I like log press. Yeah.
Yeah, and so for folks who have never done a log press before, myself included, talk about how a log is different, the various ways that a log press is different from, let's say, an axle press.
Well, I have to say your grip changes. So with an axle, you've got your palms facing forward, and with a log, you've got your palms facing to each other. That makes a big difference because I can't explain. It's just a different way of pressing. Another thing with a log is it's farther away from your chest. So you've got a little bit more leverage away from your body, which makes it difficult as well. Where with an axle, it's closer to the body. And I mean, if you stay in line, it's easier to generate power from there. And the log is quite difficult. It's quite a very technique-driven implement to get up, especially from the ground. It's on the knees, and then you roll it up, and then you can press it from there. So a big chest helps with a log because then you can rest it on your chest and then press from there.
Yeah, it's a few different movements in one, right? It's actually starting off with the deadlift, isn't it? And then you get it into your lap, and it's very interesting.
Sure.
But it's interesting how you talk about it's further away from your body, which I think kind of the layman doesn't realize, right? So guys at your level are doing usually a 12-inch diameter log, is that right?
Yes, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, which means it's 6 inches away from you, as opposed to a bar which is right over your center of gravity.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I'm really interested to learn about how you first came across Strongman. How did you first become interested? What was that event that really got your attention where you said, I got to do that?
Yeah, I actually grew up with watching Strongman on ESPN, but this was the Mariusz Pudzianowski and those guys when I was still a young boy. As in South Africa, I played rugby up until I was 21, played provincial level rugby, and then just got tired of the rugby, and I always was in the gym doing weight training. One of my friends at the gym actually said, well, listen, there's a Strongman comp coming up, let's do this. And I was like, all right, perfect, let's do this. Let's start with this. I have the power, I have the strength, so I can just as well use it. And I was looking for something else to replace the rugby because I need to be competitive. I can't just train just to train. I have to train for something. And I'd say the event that got me most interested in the Strongman was actually deadlift. Just being able to pick up a heavy weight and engaging your whole body to get the weight up. I'd say that was the thing that actually got me into strength sports and Strongman specifically. So yeah.
That's very interesting because I recently interviewed Gabriel Pena, who's a first alternate for World's Strongest Man, and he also has a rugby background. So this really interests me. I don't know how much American football you've watched, but could you kind of compare and contrast rugby and American football, the differences?
I haven't watched a lot. I'd say the main difference, according to me, obviously, I think the American football, there's a little bit more contact in it, but the guys have all the pads on and all that stuff. We have rugby, you don't have that on. But as far as I know, the American football, they do like a set and then they carry on. Then they change from defense to offense. Yep. Whereas rugby, it's 40 minutes, so it's 80 minutes of playing two 40-minute halves. So I think your fitness level has to be way higher than with American football. And there's different elements because rugby, we have scrums, we have contact, getting to the ball, pushing each other around, stuff like that. So I think endurance-wise, rugby is a bit more strenuous than American football, in my opinion. I've never played football, so I'm not sure. But if I have to, what I've seen seems that way.
That's my opinion as well. So nowhere near your level, of course, but we had an intramural team in high school in rugby, and I tried it out. And just the physicality is on another level, I would say, and the continuous nature. So in American football, when you are tackled, when you hit the ground, or actually when the ball hits the ground, the play is over and you reset, as you said. Whereas in rugby, it's, you can be pinned to the ground and there is an attempt to keep getting up. It's just very, very strenuous. Even the kicks in rugby are on the run, are they not?
Yeah, yes. Yeah, you're running most of the time, all of the time, actually running up until there's a mistake that was made, and then we stop for about most of the time. Let's say longest 5 minutes, and then you carry on again. So yeah, it's quite fitness levels needs to be high.
So it's almost like a brutal version of soccer.
You can say so, yeah. Yeah, for men.
That's right. That's funny. So let's kind of rewind a little bit. I was just wondering if there's anything about your background or your upbringing that maybe people would find interesting that they might not know about you.
Well, my upbringing, grew up on a farm. That's actually where my name comes from, the ox. If I can just jump into that now, just thinking about it now. Like I said, grew up on a farming community in the Free State in South Africa. We had had cattle on the farm and so forth, and so yeah, that's about it. Played rugby in school. My upbringing was actually quite normal. Nothing strange, nothing weird. It's actually nothing to say about it. I was actually just a normal, ordinary guy, which had a big dream and working on my dream now. That's about it.
Absolutely. I mean, were there ever any days on the farm where you look back now where you were kind of picking up weird stuff and you think about it now and say, oh, it all makes sense?
Actually, no. To be perfectly honest, no, because I was never, when I was small, I was playing with a rugby ball. I was busy with my rugby ball. I was kicking the ball around, running up and down with the ball because I wanted to play rugby. Actually wanted to be on the national team, play for the Springboks rugby. But now and that's with the Strongman where I'm at now. I'm actually way happier with where I am now, that I've been able to achieve this with Strongman than I am with achieving this with rugby. But yeah, it's just a personal opinion. I mean, all of this I'm doing it for myself. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, different guys have different stories, right? Like Cleve Dean, for example, who I think did strongman and arm wrestling. He grew up on a farm as well, and he used to have to, the pigs would get away, so he'd have to wrestle them back in. So that's because some people have stories like that about farm life. Yeah. So you were talking about Mariusz Pudzianowski. Who would you say was your favorite to watch growing up? Because I have a few.
Yeah, well, actually, Pudzianowski, just the way he looked and his whole presence for me was something different. It was just on another level. Yeah,
I would say there was an intensity and there was a you're not going to beat me type of nature.
Exactly. Yeah, and then exactly when I got a little bit older, Big Z Zadrunas, he got my attention. I think we've got more or less the same build, and maybe I'm just flattering myself now, but yeah, I'd say just the way he is, it always looks calm and collective to me, and just doing his own thing, and I've got a lot of respect for that. And I tried to follow the same path, if I can say that out loud. So yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever crossed paths with him at all?
Actually, no, I have not. I would love to be honest. It would be amazing.
I think there's probably a big chance he'll be at Worlds. You can probably meet him there.
Yeah, no,
yeah, absolutely. So. I would say, I mean, would you agree with the popular consensus that Big Z is the greatest of all time?
Yes, definitely. For sure.
So I think the argument becomes who's number two?
Yeah, I'd have to say for me personally, it must be Brian Shaw. But again, it's the way he presents himself and what I've seen from him. I've never met him. Actually looking forward. He's in my heat, so I'm looking forward to just see him in person as well. But what I see from him, it must be Brian Shaw. The professionalism and just the way he handles himself, for me, I've got a lot of respect for that. So, I'd say if it comes to Strongman specifically, suppose it has to be Pujanovsky. If we're just looking at events and stuff like that. But for me, Brian Shaw.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I think like there's a little bit of I don't want to use the word controversy, but the IFSA split during Marius's reign, whereas Brian beat all of the best of all time. Like much of his career was against Big Z, and so you got to give him like super extra bonus points for that.
For sure. Definitely.
For succeeding in that era. Yeah. I mean, growing up, I had a few. Magnus Samuelsson was always one of my favorites. I don't know if I liked the arm wrestling crossover or what it was, but I really loved watching him. Kazmaier, for sure. Bill Kazmaier. Yeah, he had a totally different level of intensity. And
no, definitely.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see how he would compete today.
It would be. No, definitely, for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of different athletes, who would you say is your favorite strongman who you've competed with, where you really look forward to, whether it's the competition or you just like them or what have you?
Well, mostly I've competed against South African guys. In South Africa, I suppose it has to be Dean Shelley. He actually won Africa's last year. Mm-hmm. So, he with half a point. But I like Dean. I like as well the way he is. And and then in 2018 I went to official strongman games. I met Trey Mitchell there, competed against him. That was quite cool as well. Trey is also a quiet guy, just doing his stuff and getting his results speak for themselves. Trey Mitchell as well, internationally.
Would you agree? Trey looks extremely impressive this year.
No, definitely, for sure. I just wish I could get his technique with the Atlas stones. He's crazy with the Atlas stones. He
is. He was watching him at the Shaw Classic last year. I don't want to say it was surprising, but his Hummer tire deadlift was incredible. He did 1,080 pounds on Hummer tire deadlift, and he looked like, he doesn't have as many years in the sport, but he looked like Brian Shaw, methodical-wise. Like, he just looked like, this guy's in the zone, he's calm, he knows what he's doing, and he's going to execute. It's just, and then he won Texas Strongest Man very recently. So he's looking very, very good heading into Worlds.
Yeah, no, for sure, definitely. Looking forward to see him again.
Yeah, absolutely. Any plans to go to official Strongman games again? It's back this year.
Yeah, it's back. Yeah, I don't think I'll go this year again, just with work and everything, because I have a full-time job as well. So I doubt if I'll go this year again. Actually would love to go to the Giants Live Deadlift Championships, but it's invite only. So let's see what happens at Worlds, and then maybe we'll get there.
Hey, listen, I don't know if this is good fortune or what, but I'll tell you, I had Gabriel Pena on here the other day, and he said the exact same thing as you. I would love to go do the deadlift, and I checked the website today, and he's on there. So say it more loudly, and maybe you'll get the invite.
Maybe you're my 5 weeks over.
Yes, absolutely. So another thing I was wondering is just geography-wise, not everybody is worldly, and I've never been to Africa myself. So for people in other parts of the world who have never visited your part of the world, what would you say is, and I know it's a whole country, but what would you say is the most exciting or the greatest part of South African culture?
South African culture? Well, I'd say just the people are friendly and humble. Honestly, to me, I've only been to America and I've been to Dubai as well. But yeah, I'd say the people are humble and they're friendly. And then the food, the South African food is just on another level. With the taste and all of that stuff, you can't compare. So yeah.
I would imagine, does it vary if you're closer to the coastlines versus not so much?
The food.
Yeah. Is it more like seafood if you're closer to the coastlines and not so much inland?
It is, but in South Africa, we have a few provinces, and you can go province to province. The food actually differs because we've got a lot of different cultures in South Africa, and all of the cultures has just come together. And per province as well, you get different tastes, different styles of cooking, all of that stuff. So the food, I have to say, is amazing. But in the Free State, the place I come from, with every meal there's meat. You have to have meat in every meal. And we're quite fortunate because I'm sure other countries, other places doesn't have all that, the luxury of eating meat every day. But the way I grew up and the way I'm still doing it now, every meal of mine does have meat in it. So yeah, we're quite fond of our meat.
Now Now a word about Go Hard Labs. Are you looking for a pre-workout that doesn't make your skin crawl but still gives you some solid energy for your workouts, or even just to get through your day when you're exhausted like I am from making all my YouTube content? You should check out Go Hard Labs and use my code MBSM10 to get 10% off of your purchase. They're taking pre-orders now. The product is so popular that they've sold out. Make sure and get your pre-order in so you can get your Driven from Go Hard Labs as soon as it becomes available. And again, make sure to use my code MBSM10, stands for My Block Strongest Man, to get your 10% off. And now back to today's topic. I would say that probably helps with the strongman diet, and I was just wondering. I think for people who don't do it, they may not appreciate how much eating is involved in maintaining a strongman physique. And so, is it a chore for you? Is it something you've gotten accustomed to over the years? Does it come naturally? Like, what would you say about maintaining the proper or the required diet for strongman?
No, for me, to be honest, the eating is the most difficult part. Definitely, it's a constant eating, and especially when I was younger, I just thought, no, you can eat everything, you can eat anything. It's strongman, you have to eat anything and just get a lot of food in. But to do it healthily, it's way better than just putting rubbish in your mouth. You can compete better, you just feel overall better, but the eating for me is a big chore. It doesn't come naturally to me. I have to work hard at it, but it's one of the things you have to do. If you don't eat enough, you feel it instantly. If I skip a meal, then blood sugar drops, I'm tired, I can't do anything. So yeah, but training is easy, but the eating that's a chore. It's hard work.
Yeah, I would imagine. What is your body weight, more or less?
Well, actually weighed myself yesterday. I'm almost 190 kg now. I think that's just under or just over 400 pounds. So yeah, it's about 410, around there.
Yeah, so it's quite a few calories you need to maintain.
Definitely. That's quite heavy. I have to say I'm feeling the weight now, but I'm feeling strong as well. I'm confident. So yeah, it helps.
Great. So you mentioned a full-time job. What do you do?
I'm a construction manager for a civil construction company, so I work in roads, move around a lot, different contracts, different places. So yeah, I actually manage a construction site, civil construction. So it's only road construction. Yeah.
Interesting. That's interesting because you can kind of see the fruits of your work everywhere you go, right? It's kind of permanently there.
Yeah, no, definitely. Now that's one of the blessings in the work. You see what you do, and it stays there for years and years to come. So I mean, if I travel down to the Eastern Cape, there's roads I've built there, and I travel over. But I was part of this building this road, so it gives a lot of pride, for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. So another thing that you piqued my interest with is you mentioned earlier Brian's in your heat. I didn't see that they announced the heats yet. I don't know if you're allowed to say, but can you say who else is in your heat?
Yeah, no, I can say they actually announced it. It is Brian Shaw, Luke Richardson, and Robert Oberst in my heat.
Interesting. So, yeah. Interesting. Oh, so it's four guys, not five?
4 guys, yes.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay. Well, is it on the World's Strongest Man website? Because I have to go redo my predictions now.
It's on the World's Strongest Man website. Yeah, actually, it was on Instagram, on their page on Instagram. Okay. And yeah, you can just have a look there. So I think I shared it as well. Not all the heats, but I know all of the heats are on the website.
Okay. Did they announce the events as well?
No. Not yet. Unfortunately, not. Waiting patiently for that.
Yeah, me too, because I wanted to ask you which one you're looking most forward to, but they haven't announced them yet.
Can't say. Unfortunately, I don't know. We'll have to see when I get there. If we don't get it beforehand, I'm not sure how it works. It is my first World, so yeah, just going with it.
Yeah, I would imagine so I don't want to disparage, but I think Worlds kind of keeps it close to the vest until very, very close to the day. And sometimes they even change. I don't want to say unfortunately, because I don't know. What's your opinion on this? Many strong men and strong women like the kind of the not knowing of things because they like to be ready for anything kind of deal. But what's your opinion on that? Do you like to know what all the events are ahead of time, or do you feel like I'm a well-rounded athlete, I can handle anything if it's a minor tweak, not something totally crazy?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, I think it's strongman. You have to be ready for anything. To train for specific events, for me, it's I don't do that. I train to be genuinely be a strong athlete, to be overall strong, and that's about it. It doesn't really matter to me, to be honest. If we get the events beforehand, if we get it there, it doesn't matter to me. It makes no difference to me, because at the end of the day, I'm a strong man. I'm not a deadlift champion or only a lock press or a farmers champion. I'm a strongman athlete, and I want to see myself as an overall athlete, for sure, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there was one last year at Worlds where Colin Bryce was doing a walkthrough of all the implements in the boneyard, and there was a pile of anvils, and he said, "Oh, this is just part of our kit that we bring everywhere. We're not using them this year." And then they used them, so in a medley in the final. So it was like, come on, man.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I think to be overall, it's an ultimate show of strength. And for me, that's strongman. That's why I don't do powerlifting, and nothing against powerlifting or any of the other strength sports. But for me, strongman is an ultimate show of strength. And to be ultimately the strongest, you have to be a well-rounded athlete as well. So yeah,
I think some athletes like the predictability of powerlifting, and some enjoy the unpredictability of strongman.
Yeah, no, for sure, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I think we can guess they're going to do some sort of deadlift. What type do you prefer? Do you like a conventional 9-inch, or do you like a 12 and 18-inch? Which deadlifting do you like the best?
No, definitely the conventional one. I think it's quite a good event for me. So yeah. I doubt if there will be a silver dollar, but actually any form of deadlift for me is fine. To be honest, I like deadlift. I did the 18-inch yesterday in training. I'm actually training with this weekend. I'm with Gerard van Staden, the Lion King. So yeah, sitting here in his living room now doing this podcast. So
oh wow,
he's teaching me a lot. So yeah, it's actually amazing. So yeah.
Yeah, the other thing I think we probably can bank on there being at Worlds is something with a yoke, and you've done very well at Africa's with yokes. Talk about yoke technique. What are the things that go through your mind to do a yoke correctly?
Well, I have to say, firstly, your height needs to be perfect. And the only way you get your height is in training. You have to play around with it. I like my height just to clear the ground, not too much, let's say about 2 inches or so. And then the placement of the yoke itself. I like to put my yoke a little bit back, let's say between my traps and my shoulders at the back of it. And then it's just picking up the weight and moving with it. I don't like, if I can call it, rituals going through my mind, because if you do something wrong, a lot of the time you get thrown off. So let's say you forget to put your left hand first on the bar. Now you're thrown off. Now everything is confusing to you. So I just go in there, feel that it feels comfortable on my shoulders, and the height should be correct, and pick it up and move with it. I don't overthink things, if I can put it like that.
Yeah, that's a good perspective. And it's interesting that you mentioned the height off the ground clearance, because we had our live show last evening, and 2 Americans on here, Clay West and Andrew Prosser, and they had different approaches. One of them likes 2 inches off the ground, and one of them likes 6 inches off the ground to make sure it doesn't drag. He said, I'd rather give the effort and lift it higher and know I'm not going to catch it on the ground. Whereas Andrew said, I like 2 inches and that's it. So it's interesting how it's a subjective thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. The thing is, I don't like the clearance because I try and keep my body as stable as possible. So when I'm moving around, I'm not jumping up and down or going up and down. So the chance of the bar hitting the ground is low for me, but everybody's got a different technique. I mean, that's what works for me. So yeah.
Yeah, Andrew's a tall guy, so he was talking about if I have to lift it 6 inches off the ground, it becomes less and less stable and more wobbly, so I'd like to stay closer to the ground.
Yeah, no, exactly.
What do you do with the breathing during a yoke run?
Yes, you're asking me a difficult question now. I don't think about it. I just do it. But I'd have to say, if I look at my other events, I'm sure I keep my breath. I keep everything like compact. I hold my breath. Mm-hmm. But I think it will depend on how far it is as well. I like, especially with the farmers, sounding like a steam train just blowing in and out, in and out, in and out. And with the yoke, I've actually never thought about it. I just do the yoke. What I do with my breathing, I've got no idea, to be honest.
Don't let me get into your head. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, I asked this question to a strong woman in the U.S., Erin Stoney, and she said the same thing. She holds her breath. She said, if the distance is short enough and I take a deep breath and hold it the whole time. That way you create that internal pressure like a soda can, for example.
Exactly. Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah, that's interesting. So we talked about kind of who was your favorite to compete with. Who's an athlete you never had a chance to compete with, maybe retired or maybe possible for the future, that you think that's the person I really would love to compete against who I never had the chance before?
Well, it has to be Sidrunas Vickers. For me, he's the best of all time, and I'd like to compare myself against him.
So here's a follow-up. What events do you think you'd compare favorably against him with?
Well, I'd say it'd have to be the Yoke and the Farmers. That's the two events I like. Maybe the deadlift as well. I don't want to sound too confident, but yeah, maybe the deadlift as well. I know the log press is out, to be honest. He's got the world record. So I'd like to see how I can compare to him. But yeah, I'd say good events for me will be the Farmers Walk and the Yoke and the deadlift. Yeah, conventional deadlift.
Right. Great. Yeah, there's actually an American log lift record up for grabs coming up in less than a week, Wednesday, Clash on the Coast. I don't know if you've heard about that one, but Anthony Furman's putting it together. Lawrence Chalet is going to be there as a judge. It's going to be pretty big event.
Yeah, that's quite cool. I actually don't know about it, but yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys who I think have. I don't know if you've ever crossed paths with Wesley Claiborne or Bobby Thompson from the U.S. I think they both have a good chance at breaking the record.
Yeah, I actually competed against both of them at the official Strongman Games 2018. So yeah, especially I have to say, Mr. Claiborne is quite good. Always look at his Viper presses, and he's got big weights going up easily.
Yeah.
So looking forward to him doing the event. I think it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, he's getting very famous for those Viper presses because he's putting up weights with that specific maneuver that other guys just aren't doing.
No, for sure, definitely. No, it's big. It is.
Yeah, I mean, do you train Viper at all? Like, would you ever consider trying to press a log like that?
No, I won't. To be honest, no, I won't. I can't tell you why. I just won't. For me, it seems dangerous. To be honest, it'll feel like I'm going to fall backwards. But yeah, I've never done it, so I don't know.
Yeah. He actually competed at the Siberian Power Show very recently and did well there as well. Yeah. Speaking of which, Travis Ortmeyer was there. Any excitement about competing against him at Worlds?
To be honest, I don't really follow him, so at this stage, no. And if I have to be perfectly honest, at this stage, I'm staying in my lane. I'm doing my stuff. Yeah. I'm not looking at the other guys' weights on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. I'm just doing my thing. At the end of the day, Strongman for me is I want to compete against myself and I want to better myself. And for me, that's a big thing. Obviously, there's some excitement competing against Brian and seeing all the guys there, comparing myself against them. But at the end of the day, for me, it's a personal thing. I know Eddie Hall has spoken about it extensively as well, especially in his documentary as well, about that hole that needs to be filled. And yeah, that's about it. I'm getting there, working towards that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, in terms of kind of the administrative side of things, how did you get yourself in a position to get the invite to Worlds? How does that work?
I can't remember the website's name. I think it's the official Strongman Games. They've got like a website. So started posting up there, and obviously won Africa's 2018. Then there was there was actually Worlds last year, but I'm just tagging the people in my Instagram posts and so forth, trying to get my name out there. So yeah,
it's interesting. So I didn't realize that there was a proactive nature about it. So that's very, very interesting.
Yeah, no, it is. No, there's official Strongman Games. I think Eddie's part of that. Colin Bryce is part of that, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So there's like a place you can upload videos and stuff around there, and yeah.
Interesting. So you were talking about farmers as well. How did let's see, how should I ask this? Farmers has been a little bit controversial in some contests here in the U.S. because there's the idea of the knurled handles versus not knurled, kind of smooth handles. Is there a preference you have? Like, what are the different dynamics that come into play with the farmers that make it more or less difficult in your mind?
I like a handle with knurling on. I think it grips better. And the handle shouldn't be I'm not quite sure about the size. If I have to say, it should be about an inch and a half thick. So it shouldn't be like too big that I can't get my hands around it. But a thin handle hurts your hand as well. So then it feels like it's cutting into your hand. But definitely nerding on. Definitely. For me, definitely nerd.
Yeah, and so you need to be able to get a full hand around and squeeze it, as opposed to, for example, a Circus dumbbell where it's resting in your palm, so it matters less.
No, that's not good. Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah. Do you train Circus at all?
I do. I try and do my best to train it. I don't like it, to be honest, but I suppose I shouldn't say it on here now, but yeah. But the Circus dumbbell for me, it's one of the things I can't get a feeling to it, if I can put it like that. I can't get excited about it. I think that's the best word to use.
Yeah, it's interesting. I just train a little bit here and there. I'm not competitive at all, and I like Circus the best for some reason. I don't know why it is.
Okay, well.
Yeah, it may be because I've never tried log. I think I just generally like overhead pressing the best. But
yes.
Yeah, but Circus has a lot of technique to it that people, I think, don't realize.
Yeah. No, definitely. Well, you say you like it, so what will your technique be? Can you give me a few pointers there?
Oh, I have a video where I learned from Linde Engels how to do it correctly. And Anthony San Lorenzo is a middleweight pro here in the U.S. He's going to be at Clash on the Coast. He taught me some cool things as well. So a few techniques. One, you don't stand right over it. So basically, Linde Engels has a video. I'll send you the link after this, where basically you stand over it, then you take a big step back where you can barely reach it. And so that way, when you're lifting it off the ground, it swings in between your legs, and the pendulum swing back gets it up onto your shoulder. So you're using very little energy to clean it. And then you have 90% of your energy left to do the press. That's one. And then the other thing, too, is just how much of it should be leg drive versus shoulder. The shoulder is really just stability. So it's you dip down and it's leg drive. And then it's the part that was hard for me is when you're getting to the top. Olympic lifters would be good at this, but there's kind of like the duck under. So to get that last lockout. Yeah, but people who are doing, and I'm sure you've learned this years ago before I ever knew it, but people who are doing dumbbell or Circus for the first time, it gets away from you. So so Anthony told me, once you have it up, when you begin your press, you have to shift your hips under it so that it stays center lined over you. So all of those would be my tips.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I've actually learned something now. So yeah, thanks.
Fantastic. So what would you say? We talked about farmers. We talked about deadlift. We talked about yoke. What's your favorite event of those?
I'd have to say the deadlift for sure. Definitely the deadlift.
Yeah, and so for a layman like me who wants to get better at deadlift, what are now you owe me some tips.
Anytime. Well, if we're looking at conventional deadlift, I actually looked a lot of at Eddie Hall's videos. I try to mimic his technique of getting down to the ground with your hips and then driving from there out of your glutes, and then when you get a little bit higher, out of your quads. I see the deadlift as a squat. I'd have to say that's the best way I can sum it up. And if somebody asks me as well, I'd say just think of a squat and then working from there, keeping the bar as close as possible to your shins and to your legs, so that everything like stays together, and just driving with your legs back straight, lats activated, everything activated, and using your glutes to get up. Don't use your back. Yeah, I think it's more of a pushing into the ground than it is pulling the weight up. Like a squat. For me, it's most of it's like a squat.
Yeah, I think Eddie describes it as a leg press.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that, because when I first started this channel, one of my videos was how would a regular guy stack up against Eddie Hall's world record deadlift, right? And so, I took the bar out and I did it on grass, so it was very, very difficult. And so I thought, he was 1102, I think, in pounds is what it equates to, or 1103. Yeah. And so I thought, okay, so if he's that high, a regular guy surely could do, 400 pounds, because that's way, way less than him. Nope. I think I did 275 that day, and I'm up to 3 plates now. But it's interesting, the foot placement, right? Like if I didn't watch Eddie, I never would have realized how close the bar has to be to the body.
Yeah, no, definitely. Actually, I learned it from him as well. So my shins are constantly bleeding and constantly got bruises and scars on from the bar. Just keeping the bar as close as possible, and then working from there. And it actually makes sense if you think about it, because the closer the weight is to your body, the more power you can generate from there. There's not a big like a pendulum. That's the closer the weight, the easier it is to get it up. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, talking about legs getting beaten up, you've discussed that you like doing farmers. How do those kind of do they drag against your legs? Is there a technique to keep them away from you when you're trying to run?
Yeah, I just have wide shoulders.
Okay, I'll grow some wider shoulders.
No, actually, they don't. They don't touch my legs. I'd say it depends on the farmers as well. If you have like big, bulky farmers at the end with the weights on, then it's an issue. But the farmers I use, it's about like a train track. It's about that width, and then actually, just if you feels to me, if you activate your lads and keep everything like tight up here, there's nowhere for the farmers to swing around. And a major thing for me with farmers and with yoke is to keep my body as still as possible, not like swinging around with the weights and stuff like that. Because the tighter you can be, the less energy you have to use to keep the farmers in line as well. So the stiller the weight is, the easier you move. It's like, yeah, the weight has to be still, and especially with the yoke, and the farmers. As soon as it starts swinging around, you have to stabilize the core again and just get the weight under control again. So yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So, what are some hobbies that you have outside of strength training? We've talked strength training this whole time, but you must have other hobbies as well.
Not really. To be honest, most of my time goes into my strength training and goes into the gym. Obviously, I like spending time with my wife. I'm married, and we actually just like to cook together and go to restaurants and eat nice foods and stuff like that. Family is very important to me, so I try to spend a lot of time as possible with my wife and with my mother and my father, my sisters and so forth. But yeah, at this stage, most of my time goes into work and my training.
Yeah, it's interesting. So one of your world's strongest man brethren from this year, JF Caron, also said his hobby is going to restaurants.
Yeah, no, for sure. Actually, watch some of the podcasts you send me with JF Caron.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that very much. So let's see. What did we miss? What do you like most about the sport, would you say?
I'd say what I like most about the sport is all of the guys helping each other. There's no egos walking around, or most of the time. I've never seen egos walking around. If somebody is struggling with something, the guys help. They jump in and they say, listen, but try this or try that. And let's say, for instance, I forgot my belt, the other guys will assist me. Listen, if my belt fits you can use my belt, no stress about it, or my straps or whatever. The guys helping each other. I think that is what I like most about the sport. It's just the family part of it, and the everybody's struggling at the same time, doing the same difficult thing, and that brings us all together. So yeah, I think just the family aspect of it.
Yeah, I would say that's a common thread with every strongman and strongwoman I've spoken with. They all bring that up in terms of, you cheer on even someone whom you're competing against at the moment, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, we had a competition here in the U.S. in January, the Mammoth Strength Challenge, and there were record breakers there. And so Jessica Fithin and Gabrielle Bergholzer were both, different weight classes, but they were both going for a Mauser block record and cheering each other on. And it's amazing to see. I've never powerlifted, but everyone I've talked to who has done powerlifting and also strongman differentiates them in that way. One of them is very focused, leave me alone, and one of them is let's enjoy each other's company and cheer each other on.
Yes. No, definitely, for sure. No, for sure.
Yeah. So not to skip past Worlds, but anything else exciting you have coming up in your future?
Well, not that I want to talk about now at this stage.
Okay.
I like keeping stuff to myself and just shocking everybody when I do it.
Oh, well, you have a platform here when the time is right.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So I had a wonderful discussion with you today. Learned so much about your background, your training, and just lots of interesting stuff. Are you going to be? So here's another last question. Are you going to be posting your training at all on Instagram, or are you one of those keep it close to the vest kind of guys?
I post some of the training videos and stuff, but I don't put weights on. And so yeah, I like keeping it to myself. I think I'll have to start changing that very soon and be a bit more active on the social media. But yeah, I'll post some training videos and I'll get into it a little bit more closer to Worlds and stuff like that. So yeah,
all right, yeah, fantastic, Chris. Thanks again for joining me today, for jumping on for our wonderful conversation. Looking so forward to watching you at World's Strongest Man. Let's wrap it up by letting everybody know how they can follow you or get in contact, or any sponsorships or anything you would like to promote.
Well, promotion, I had to say my coach, Superboy is like the brand name. Quinton Hendricks, he's on Instagram. One More Fitness Systems, he makes all my gym equipment for me. Werner Dreyer is the guy's name. He's actually local from South Africa. And yeah, they can follow me on Instagram, Chris van der Linde Strongman, and Facebook, just Chris van der Linde. They must give me a follow. Any questions they have, they're more than welcome to ask me. I'm quite active in that way on social media. If somebody has a question, I try to answer them the best as I can. But yeah, like I said, I'm quite keeping it to myself and keeping focused on the goal ahead. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it a lot, and it was a good conversation. So thank you very much.
Absolutely, anytime, and maybe after Worlds we chat again. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds very good. Sounds great.
Fantastic. All righty. Well, have a great day, Chris, and thanks again for joining.
Same. Thank you.
Thank you. So if you like this video and haven't done so yet, please consider subscribing using that button right there. And also stay tuned for some other videos that you might love blooping up right there. This one is the one that YouTube thinks that you will like the best, and this one is the one that I think you will like the best. As always, share this with everyone, and until next time, ciao, homie.